Go live to National Senator Matt Canavan. He's just jumped out of a Senate committee hearing for us. Senator, thanks for your time. One vote, is Peter Dutton overdoing it? Is he going against the national interest by talking up this issue?
No, I think he's absolutely making sure that we keep our borders safe. We can see what's going on in the US with the Mexican border, in Europe with the Mediterranean, in Italy. It's absolutely out of control. Now, we are very, very lucky in this country that we don't have that sort of disaster on our borders. We only have that situation because we stamped anything out over the last decade. We had a very tough line on borders. And my concern here is that this government has been asleep at the wheel here. Obviously, the people smugglers are developing their tricks of their trade. They're making it harder for our border officials to detect them. And the government doesn't seem to have a new response apart from saying, oh, we still support the policies for the last 10 years. That is well and good, but we need to evolve with the people smugglers. We need to stay ahead of the game. We need a government that's making sure that they do that. And Peter's doing absolutely what we should do as an opposition, holding this government to account and making sure that they are taking this seriously before it's too late.
There's been a bit of focus on the Nationals in recent days off the back of the image of Barnaby Joyce in Braddon, and then now Senator Perrin Davey confirming to my colleague Andrew Clennell that she'd had some drinks before the Senate committee hearing. Do Nationals have to lift their game?
Well, look, it's not something that I've seen very often in Parliament House. Obviously, these types of incidents get a lot of national coverage, but I actually don't think it's indicative of what occurs in the building. And look, those individuals have admitted to their mistakes in the last couple of weeks, but I just don't think we should then seek to condemn all politicians or all people, even those people themselves, over a couple of errors. We all make mistakes, they've admitted to them. I don't think it's much more than that.
Senator Davey said she wasn't drunk. She was the vision that we've been reporting. Andrew reported that from the weekend onwards, but basically it's clear that she was slurring her words. Does she need to be more upfront? She said she wasn't drunk. Have you heard anything further from your colleagues or her?
Well, first thing I'll say, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions here. I haven't spoken to Perrin myself. As I say, she's been upfront with the media on this and admitted that things could be better. In terms of though, I mean, the other thing here is just, you're in Senate estimates for like 14 hours. And I'm sure there's a clip of me making errors or mistakes at different times. I'm not going to stand here and say that's because of this or that or something else. When I wasn't there in the room, I haven't spoken to Perrin myself. And again, I think we're best just not to jump to conclusions at these instances, sure, and certainly not to overreact to a couple of incidents.
Yeah, so should she consider quitting though as deputy leader? Is that something that
no? Well, I don't think there's any grounds for that at all. There is, as I say, this sort of attempt to overreact and knee-jerk respond, and have RBTs at every entrance to Parliament House. It's just a massive overreaction. It's not going to solve the issues that people are focused on right now. And I know this generates a lot of interest, but it's just not what happens in Parliament House on a regular basis.
Let me ask you about another story where I think some of your critics might have been surprised they were on the same page as you for a change, which would have shocked a few, but you've been arguing very strongly for Julian Assange to be returned home. How confident are you that that will eventuate this week?
Look, I wish I could say I was very confident, but I really don't know, and I suppose always fear the worst here. Obviously, the American government has been persistent in its efforts to bring Julian Assange home. But look, I just think we're all Australians, and we should be supporting this Australian, who I think is now an effective political prisoner of the American government. He did nothing else but publish truthful information, and yes, that truthful information was embarrassing to the American government. It was embarrassing to ourselves as well because we were involved in the Iraq War. But there seems to be a huge double standard here where New York Times journalists who published the Pentagon Papers 50-odd years ago that embarrassed the American government about the Vietnam War, they were never convicted. They were never charged. There was never any suggestion that somehow they would have breached the Espionage Act. But here we have an Australian that is potentially facing over 100 years imprisonment for doing almost exactly the same thing. I don't think that flies in the face of justice. We are good friends with America. There was a good statement, a united statement from all political parties last week to free Assange from the Parliament. I hope they listen to that.
And would it require now a pardon from the President? And should the United States system, should the US administration be looking at Australia as an ally, as a close ally, and seeing this as a request that they should honour?
Well, on the first point, whatever it takes. My not very detailed understanding of American law says that I think that can happen. So if that can happen, that's great. But whatever it takes to get Julian home, I'm supportive of. On the second point, look, I would hope that friendship means something. We have always stood behind the United States, and they have supported us too. And as I say, this is now a statement coming from our Prime Minister, our Leader of the Opposition, the Leader of all major political parties, asking the United States, in the vein of friendship here, to release one of our own citizens. So I would hope that they do listen to that. As I say, I know that what Julian did embarrassed a lot of people, but I actually think this type of investigative journalism is what marks us out as Western civilisation, as the best society ever made, that we do allow whistleblowers to occur. We do allow criticism, even of our most senior political operators in our country. Julian's done nothing more than that. He's paid an enormous price for that. I think enough's enough and he should come home.